Wham Bam Dashcam is back with the insane accidents and crazy collisions you count on us to deliver. Buckle up for exclusive videos you'll only see on
Wham Bam Dashcam!
Angel was waiting at a red light when an oncoming driver ran right through it. The driver of a Dodge minivan caused a 5-vehicle collision when they ran a red light and got hit by a Toyota SUV. That impact sent the minivan head-on into a Mini Cooper, which was then shoved backward into Angel's Honda Accord. The 5th vehicle involved was a Chevy pickup that was barely damaged when the Mini Cooper hit it while spinning. The other 4 vehicles were all totaled, and Angel got a check for $24,000 to replace his Accord. The minivan driver was found responsible for all damages. Thankfully, nobody was seriously injured. Angel told us he's thankful we are all alive and kicking. He also asked us to please encourage everyone to get a dash cam. Wayne was waiting for cross traffic to clear when a Chevy SUV from his right turned toward and ran straight into the front of his Honda CR-V. Wayne was shocked that anyone would so completely miscalculate a left turn like that. But then, he found out the driver was only 17 and didn't even have a license. That also means the teenager wasn't insured. Wayne called 911 to report the collision, but before the police arrived, the teen's father tried to convince Wayne to lie to the cops and tell them he'd been driving. Wayne didn't tell us what he decided to tell the cops. What would you do in a situation like this? Would you tell the cops the truth? Let us know in the comments. Ryan was headed home when he came to a section of road where 2 lanes merge into one. Up ahead, a turn lane opens up to turn left. The driver of a BMW got impatient and decided to drive into the grass median to get around traffic. After he was already passing traffic, something caused him to change his mind and back off. I wonder what it was. Yep, that'll do it. The BMW driver had spotted a police car leading the pack, but sadly for him, the cop had spotted his creative driving too. He slowed down and waited for the BMW to pass before pulling him over for a little chat. Ryan told us the officer didn't look too impressed with the BMW driver's actions, and he's sure the cop gave him a serving of instant justice. KN was headed to work early one morning when a box truck merged ahead of him into the express lane. Suddenly, the truck driver locked up his brakes. KN found out later that a vehicle up ahead had cut into the lane and forced other drivers to slam on their brakes. And the ripple effect continued until the box truck lost control and rear-ended the car ahead of it. Thankfully, KN was able to stop and avoid getting involved in the collision. Everyone pulled over, and a passing CHP motor officer stopped and made a collision report. KN provided a copy of his footage to the insurance companies. This submitter was driving late at night in his Kia Sorento when he suddenly encountered a blue pickup truck stopped in the middle of his lane with no lights on.
Whoa! What the?
He told us that, in person, the pickup seemingly appeared out of nowhere. Thankfully, the speed limit on this road is only 25 miles per hour and there was no oncoming traffic, so he was able to maneuver around the truck without incident. Quincy was driving down a Canadian highway when a torrential downpour began out of the blue. Some drivers chose to pull over and wait out the deluge, but Quincy decided to push through it. Suddenly, the driver of the pickup truck ahead of Quincy lost control and spun completely around. Thankfully, the driver was able to regain control once the pickup was once again facing the right way down the highway. Jonathan witnessed a 4-vehicle collision when a silver SUV merged into a car and sent it spinning out of control.
Whoa! Whoa! What happened?
The car that was hit flew to the right and hit another car before coming back and taking out 2 vehicles, pushing them toward the median. The other car went spinning off to the right and slammed into the concrete barrier. Thankfully, an unmarked law enforcement vehicle was following nearby and the cop witnessed the whole thing. He stopped and checked on the drivers after activating his emergency lights. Jonathan chose to continue since there were people already helping and he didn't want to miss his flight, but he told us it didn't look like anybody was seriously injured. Jack was driving when he watched electricity arc between some power lines running next to the road. The two powerful arcs made quite the fireball. Jack doesn't know what happened or what the results were. If there are any linemen out there who recognize this phenomenon, tell us what that was in the comments. Andrew's wife was on her way to an appointment and was following a pickup truck pulling a trailer with some landscaping equipment loaded onto it. Watch what happened when the dump truck ahead suddenly stopped. The pickup driver slammed on the brakes, but the extra weight of the trailer made it impossible for him to stop in time to avoid rear-ending the dump truck. What's the lesson to be learned from this video? When pulling a heavy trailer, give yourself more stopping distance than you normally would. On a related note, if you need to merge in front of a heavy vehicle, be sure to wait for an extra large gap so they have room to stop. George was heading to a pharmacy to pick up his blood pressure medication, but what happened before he arrived was probably not good for his blood pressure. A young boy chasing a soccer ball nearly followed it into the road right in front of George's Ford Focus. Thankfully, he was able to brake and swerve to avoid a collision. George told us he had to pull over to, as he puts it, get his heart unstuck from his throat and calm down. Twiggy had just gotten his wheels balanced and was on his way home in his Nissan Altima when the Toyota RAV4 in front of him stopped suddenly. He told us he slammed on the brakes, but he still rear-ended the Toyota. Twiggy got out and spoke with the Toyota driver, who he describes as a very nice old man. Neither of them were hurt, and there was almost no damage to either vehicle, so they decided to go their separate ways. This submitter was on his way home with his wife after running errands when they watched this week's Tesla behaving badly run a stop sign right in front of them.
That Tesla man can't drive.
While the Tesla driver had a stop sign, our submitter did not, and the Tesla driver should have waited for our submitter to pass. I guess they figured they were important enough to ignore the law. This submitter was waiting to turn left when he watched a Corvette get hit by a white vehicle running a red light. The Corvette was making a protected left turn when the white Chevy HHR ran the red light and T-boned it. Our submitter told us he provided copies of his dashcam footage to the Corvette driver and to the police. Danny was heading home with his wife and toddler when the driver of a Volkswagen ID4 suddenly turned in front of him on a road with a speed limit of 45 miles per hour. Danny suspects the VW driver had just been involved in a collision with the Prius we can see pulled over to the right. He wanted to remind our viewers to keep calm and pull over safely if ever you're involved in a collision. He's thankful his family made it safely home, and he also thanked us and said our videos have helped him develop a faster reaction time. Thanks, Danny. We're glad you're all safe. Alex was waiting at a traffic light when he watched another vehicle get rear-ended. Keep an eye on the cars to the right as they make their way toward the intersection.
Oh shit. That Hyundai just hit the Honda. And she ran.
A black car rear-ended a red car that was waiting to turn left. But before anybody could react, the driver of the black car turned right and sped off. Alex told us the driver of the red car then took off in pursuit. Alex contacted the police and offered them a copy of his dashcam footage, but they told him there hadn't been any collisions reported for that location and time. Brooke is a trucker who sent us this footage she captured of California wildfires. She'd heard about another trucker overheating his Jake brakes and starting a wildfire, and this is what she encountered about 2 hours later. Man, that is freaky. She told us she found our channel through Wham Bam Tesla Cam, and while she's not a big fan of Teslas, she does have a reservation on an Aptera. Cool, so do I. My referral link is in the description. Anthony was proceeding toward a traffic light after waiting for it to turn green. As he passed some parked cars on his right, he encountered a pickup truck exiting a gas station parking lot. Even though he honked and swerved, the pickup still hit the side of his Nissan Altima. Both drivers went back to the gas station to exchange information. He's now struggling through the insurance process. Evidently, the pickup driver's insurance provider thinks Anthony is at fault, even though their customer failed to yield to traffic already in the road. Predictably, Anthony's insurance provider thinks he's in the clear. What do you think? Should Anthony have done something different? Post your expert driving advice in the comments. Man, lots of California videos in this episode. If you aren't getting enough of them, go watch the Worst Drivers of California video we just posted as a bonus a few days ago. Anyway, Dylan was driving in California when a Prius driver pulled out in front of his Toyota Corolla while he was going over 50 miles per hour. Thankfully, Dylan was able to make a moose maneuver and avoided a collision with the Prius while blasting his 118 decibel aftermarket horn. Only after the incident did he realize this may have been an insurance fraud attempt. One more from California. RL's younger brother Caden was making a right turn with a green light when an oncoming driver turned left and they ended up aiming for the same lane. By the time he noticed the minivan, it was too late and the vehicles made contact. His Subaru Impreza's front bumper cover had been pushed out of place, but he was able to push it back. Thankfully, nobody was injured. Both drivers agreed to let it go since the damage was so minor, but RL said this is a good reminder to pay attention even when your own light is green. He also wanted to shout out his brother for staying calm. This video is a little different. Our submitter was flying around a go-kart track when another racer suddenly turned into him. Thankfully, there were no serious injuries. Our submitter didn't contact the police as the damage to his go-kart, which wasn't really his, I suppose, was pretty minor, and he told us he still managed to win the race. Evidently, the other driver told our submitter that the collision had been his fault. He wants to know what you think. Who caused this horrible wreck? Our submitter or the other racer?
Wham, bam, we got a Patreon man. Please support the show.